we're pretty generous as a nation when it comes to giving money to charity. Comic Relief raised £93 million this year, breaking its own records. But there's a massive difference between that and the amount raised so far by the Disaster Emergency Committee appeal for Syria, £19 million. Seems we're more reluctant to give to man-made disasters, even though what we're seeing in Syria is one of the worst humanitarian crises for a generation. Here's our World Affairs correspondent, Naomi Grimley.
The kids are getting sick out of the water. You can see all the kids especially, they're having diarrhea.
A glimpse of life from a refugee inside Zaatari, Jordan's fourth largest city. Except it was never meant to be a city, just a temporary resting place for some refugees fleeing Syria. Now, though, there are so many arriving, the UN operation is straining at the seams.
These are the faces of fear.
This Disasters Emergency Committee appeal was launched 4 months ago by the actor Rufus Sewell. It's so far raised £17 million from the British public, and the DEC says it's truly grateful for that. But it's small compared to the appeal for the Asian tsunami of 2004, which raised 23 times that. Anna Zagafka is an academic psychologist from the University of London, and she's studied giving patterns.
If you have something like, for example, an earthquake or tsunami, it's very unlikely that the victims could have contributed to those events occurring. But if you have something like a civil war, it is at least possible that the victims might have contributed to the problem, might have maybe participated in the violence themselves. And this victim blame will make people less likely to want to help the victims.
Some in the NGO sector blame Live Aid in 1985.
No one would question the extraordinary success that appeal had and its importance, but it had serious consequences for the humanitarian community.
Lee Daines is director of the charity Doctors of the World. He's also worked on past appeals by the Disasters Emergency Committee. He worries that Live Aid set in stone the idea of what a humanitarian crisis looks like.
What we want to see are the deserving victims of natural disasters, the starving black baby, so that we can repeat the slogan and buy the t-shirt and all will be well. And the consequence of that, of course, is that inevitably emergency appeals for conflicts will perform less successfully financially than those for natural disasters.
Of course, in the age of austerity, donors also have a lot more scepticism about how aid actually gets spent. But perhaps the worst problem for those trying to help the Syrian refugees is crisis fatigue.
When you see that people may be in camps for winter after winter, you start to weary of contributing your money for that.
Mark Malloch-Brown worked at the UN for many years and has helped with several humanitarian responses.
We need to help people not just for their own sake, vital and important though that is, but we need to help them to avert broader political breakdown and a spreading civil war.
Back at Zaatari, new arrivals are getting only 1 blanket instead of 2. The number of refugees will soon hit 2 million, and half of those are children.
Naomi Grimley reporting there.